Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Marty Reed with Positive Coaching Alliance, giving you another PCA Live. And I'm really excited for the conversation we're going to have today. We have multiple special guests on the call today, so I'm really excited. But I'm going to give you all a moment to join in, send out this link to your friends and family, anyone in the youth sports world. I'm just going to be checking on my phone throughout the conversation to see who has joined us, but please give us a wave and let us know where you're tuning in from. I see that we are live here on Facebook. Thanks for joining us. Give us a wave. Let us know where you're tuning in from so I can give you a shout out. I'll be following along on my phone. And I'll also be taking comments and questions from the audience. So throughout the conversation, if you have a question, please leave it in the comments and I'll be happy to ask it as well. So thank you, Carolyn, for joining us. Ronald, Braden, we see you. Jessica Lacayo, thanks for joining. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'll give you about 30 more seconds before we officially get started here. But I do want to take a moment to introduce our special guest today. So today we are live with three different organizations. We have HomeCourt, we have UpMetrics, and we have Pacers Athletic Center. And our conversation today will be surrounded by community engagement in sports through technology. So that's a really fun conversation. It's different than what we've had before during our Facebook Lives. So really excited about this. So today we have Stephen Minix. He is the Managing Director of Strategic Partnerships at UpMetrics, which is one of our national partners. Thanks for joining us today, Stephen. Give us a wave so they know which one you are. We have Paul Dixon. He is the head of marketing at HomeCourt. That is one of our newest strategic partners. Thanks for joining us, Paul. We also have Mason Hankins. He is the director of marketing at the Pacers Athletic Center. And we also have Brandon Lafferman. He is the COO of Pacers Athletic Center. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks for
So
having
we're going
us.
to take a moment. If each of you can just, introduce yourselves officially and let us know a bit about your organizations for those that are tuning in who might not have heard of HomeCourt or UpMetrics or Pacers Athletic Center yet. So give us just a brief background on, what you do and why it's so awesome.
Sure, happy to lead off. This is Paul Dixon with HomeCourt. Thank you so much, Marty. Pleasure to be here with PCA. So HomeCourt, if you're not familiar with us, we do artificial intelligence on your mobile device for sports and in particular basketball. But we'll talk a little bit more. We're expanding actually even beyond basketball. But basically, we create an app that you can use to track your sports performance at home, which is particularly relevant, which we'll get into more today. But uses your mobile device to actually track your performance and give you all kinds of data and feedback about your sports activities, and actually helps youth players in particular, train and get better at the sports that they love. And so we started in basketball. We're expanding beyond that more into the future, but that's kind of a brief overview of HomeCourt and what we do, and super excited to be here.
Thank you. Awesome. Stephen, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Stephen Minix. As Marty said, I lead up strategic partnerships for UpMetrics. We're a little unique in this scenario as we're a capacity building organization for others. So we really try to live in the space of helping operators and funders and nonprofits, et cetera, kind of articulate what they're up to, what are their goals, and how do they progress to those goals. So a lot of organizations now used to render in-person services for young people and athletes. Well, now they're impacted differently. So what does virtual engagement look like? What does increasing connectivity with young people look like in this new space? So we at UpMetrics help a lot of organizations wrap their arms around their data and kind of understand what are you progressing to, and how do you look at metrics to determine whether you're on pace or whether you need to change a little bit. And the goal is to be able to tell better stories and articulate what you're up to so that funders, stakeholders, et cetera, partners can understand how to best anchor with you. So we get to live through the efforts of organizations that render the heart work and the hard work, and I'm happy to be here, part of the conversation.
Stephen. Mason or Brandon, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Brandon Lafferman. I'm the COO at Pacers Athletic Center. Really appreciate you having us on here today. Um, Pacers Athletic Center, for those of you that have never been there, we are in Westfield, Indiana, which is just north of Indianapolis, in a very large sports park called Grand Park. We're an 88,000 square foot basketball, volleyball facility. We have 8 courts, and we specialize in operating our own in-house basketball clubs, training, summer camps, and then we run the largest youth league in the Midwest, which is called the Indy Youth Basketball League. And then also we play host to major events in the basketball space. Some examples would be Nike, EYBL, Under Armour, Circuit, Adidas, USA Basketball. And we have a pretty large partnership with the Junior NBA as one of the flagship partners. And big fan of PCA through that relationship that we have. We've gotten to spend a lot of time with you guys. You guys do a great job. So we're happy to be here today and get to be part of the panel.
Thank you, Brandon. Mason, do you have anything to add to that? That was a great overview.
Yeah, I was going to say you hit the nail on the head there, but just introducing myself, I'm Mason Hankins. I handle our marketing, I coach our youth programs, do training, and then a lot of our social media.
Love it. You guys are all playing extreme roles right now with the youth sports community. And as you know, right now has been a difficult time for youth sports, difficult time for the sports community. But one way that we have been seeing a lot of improvement is through engagement in technology. So if we can just kick it off with this conversation right now, how can technology play a role in driving participation in youth sports? Let's see if Paul or Stephen want to answer that or to kick us off.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick off. And actually, this is, Brandon and Mason can kind of chime in here from a real world point of view, of course. From a HomeCourt technology point of view, we saw this very early on. We launched something called the Stay in the Game initiative because instantly when we kind of got into the COVID-19, time period, really back in March, we saw just an outpouring from our user community initially. We had been, in youth sports, not a long time. HomeCourt's been on market for about the last, 16, 18 months as a mobile training product. But we really hadn't seen, the type of activity that we're seeing now stay in the game. So, basically we wanted to help youth sports activities stay engaged, using our technology. And so we made our product available for free for anyone around the world. And instantly, as kind of the youth sports environment had to shift, given the COVID-19 situation, and really try to figure out how to stay connected, stay engaged with the community, drive like really positive sports engagement at the same time while some of the league play and activities are being canceled. We felt like we had a job to do to help enable that community. And I think we kind of worked as a team to figure out how can we provide more resources. How can we work with organizations like PCA to help drive that? And but a lot of it came from the kids and the teams out there that were really looking for different ways to like stay connected. And so as much as we wanted to kind of support the community, what we saw was kids around the world, athletes around the world wanting to stay active, wanting to play basketball, in their backyard, on their patio, in their living rooms, in their garages, all these different places. And so, we felt like, how can we as a platform help support that type of engagement? And I got connected with Brandon and Mason very early on as a case in point on that, because they reached out to us and said, hey, what can we do to help use technology to keep our kids more engaged? So that was kind of one of the initial things that happened around our product, and using mobile technology in particular, with iPhones and iPads, how do you use those platforms to help keep kids engaged in sports in a positive way?
I love it. I love it. And those that are just tuning in with us right now, this is Marty Reed with Positive Coaching Alliance, and I'm here with HomeCourt, UpMetrics, and Pacers Athletic Center, and we are having a conversation right now about community engagement in sports through technology. Now, Mason or Brandon, how has this app been helping you engage with your community? What has been the response? What does it look like for your organization? How have you been using it? And can you just share a bit how it's helped you engage during this time?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So we started, once all this happened, obviously building was shut down. We started doing Zoom workouts twice a week with the kids just to, stay in their lives. We see them every day. So we started that way for about the first 2 weeks, but as a former player myself, and then just knowing the kids, competition's what drives them. So the best way to do that was, create something that they could compete against each other with. We had knowledge of HomeCourt, but never had really used it ourselves. So we reached out to them. They graciously had the app free, so we were able to send it to all of our kids. We created a curriculum to do a challenge of the week, so they would compete against each other. Some of the kids did the same challenge 70 times, so that was good to see. It kind of normalize things a little bit for them, and we got great feedback from them.
That's great. And what has the response been with the parents in the community? I feel like now, everyone has one of these, right? And
Right.
we have been seeing more kids with one of these as well. So how has it been, getting the parents involved as well with their kids when it comes to technology?
Yeah, the parents, they want to get their kids out of the house. It's been nice enough here in Indiana for them to go outside. So they'd go outside, shoot around, but having a structure or an activity for them to compete in is perfect, because that's, like I said earlier, it's what drives them to get better. And
Right.
the parents have noticed that, and they've all been sending a lot of positive feedback in that regard.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to some people joining us. There's a lot of people on right now. We have someone from the Philippines actually here. Cline, thanks for joining us. Wow, from the Philippines. We have Chuck Carter and Los Alamos. Okay, thank you for joining. Lindsay Strothers is watching as well. Thank you all for joining us here today in our conversation around sports technology engagement. So I also wanted to ask Stephen, when it comes to technology, what are some of the assumptions that are out there right now, and assumptions that we are challenging in youth sports through technology?
Oof. Well, one, I hate to bring it back to you, Marty, but one is not everybody has one, right? Not everybody has a smartphone. Not everybody has an app. Everybody has a computer. So I think one thing that technology can do is close that gap a little bit, right? Getting out, finding out who needs, and finding out. It's intimate to me because my wife is a school leader, so I hear some of these conversations. But what organizations are doing to use old iPhone 5s as hotspots for computers to get online learning stimulated. So just being innovative, I think technology always gives you the opportunity to do something that is quote unquote not possible. Right. And I think the thoughtful, empathetic folks that are working in tech that are able to understand just tech for tech's sake isn't the answer. Tech for a very, very purposeful intervention right now, right? We don't have intimate touch. We don't have touch. So how else do you coach hoops if you can't get with your kids? I'm an old hoops coach. I get it, man. I'm fired up to go join Mason's drills now. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But this tech stuff is a great kind of olive branch or a great bridge until we get back to some things that are normal. And what we get back to won't always be the exact same. So I think the folks that are really, the organizations like HomeCourt and others that are really trying to be responsive and provide a real solution to a problem, competitive gameplay. Right, I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a kindergarten or a 1-year-old. They're competitive, right?
Yeah.
So how do you provide these gamified opportunities when possible, these training modalities when possible, and I think, and also being okay, understanding that not everybody will receive it with open arms, right? Some of these kids want to hoop, they want to just get a ball in their hand, and so this screen will be a barrier for a minute until it feels good. So that's when you get the doers and the tech together. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm starting to see it with my own kids' coaches. Kind of they're finally getting a good curriculum that's age appropriate for an 8-year-old. So I think that's just some really important things to remember when doing this for certain. I think tech allows some of that.
Yeah, thank you. And you really just mentioned a lot of the barriers that do come with this. And I purposely mentioned that assumption so you can share that answer, actually.
Well played.
No, but for real, that was great. Yeah, not everybody has one of these, and there is we do have to think about making sure that this was equitable and able to be utilized throughout all spectrums, right? And in all communities. And we want to make sure that this is accessible. So what are some ways that we can do that? What are some ways that we can provide, these opportunities to engage through technology in different communities? Is
that back to me, Marty?
Yeah.
I think look, there's a lot of different organizations that are rendering program for students and young people, right? Whether it's the YMCA, whether it's, different SBYD programs, schools. Sometimes just connecting with those leaders and saying, hey, what are y'all doing to engage your kids? What are you doing? What are you trying to do? And then finding out what's being done and then finding a way to anchor to that, right? It blew my mind when my wife, who's a KIPP school leader, said, we are measuring virtual engagement rapidly right now. We've pivoted from all of these things to this because of the scenario we're in. Well, that's not unique to her. That's not unique to Paul and Mason. It's not unique. So we're all having a similar issue. But now, what do we want to collaborate on to see what the benefit of collaboration could be? And through tech, to me, there's an ability to still reach folks who are no longer in my personal presence, right? And I think so. Reach, engagement, those kind of things. And I think if y'all have nailed it in your organization, engagement virtually, well, then I bet you there's an academic institution right next to you that would love to hear what you nailed because they're trying to figure it out too. So to me, that's an opportunity for collabo. And I think that's what I'm really looking for in these unique times is where to collaborate, because doing it by yourself, we all know, is not the play right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, because of this pandemic, we have seen, this sort of reset button in youth sports. It's created an avenue to, help grow technology and for us to engage better through technology in sports. Paul, can you talk a bit about how you're creating that avenue and what does the future look like when we do return back into sports? How can we continue to grow and utilize technology in a very, really, really prosperous, great way for everyone?
Yeah, and I will say, to echo Stephen's point, I do think that accessibility is absolutely like a key, and that's why we've also made our programs global as much as possible. It's great to hear that you have someone from the Philippines joining the call today, for example, because we do really see that. What's interesting is that that's one of the unique opportunities with technology too, is that while we can make it accessible, and maybe not everybody has the latest tech.
Right.
But it can also be very distributed, which is really great. For example, we saw very recently we had a group within the Orlando Magic youth sports organization competing virtually through HomeCourt with a team in Los Angeles, and doing that digitally through our platform. And so would those teams normally be in the same tournament on a Sunday weekend? No. But now with digital, they're actually enabled in this, really new kind of unique way, where players kind of around the world can compete with each other online. And so I think there's a lot of creativity that comes with that from the players and from the organizations out there, which we just love to see. I will say, I think the parents are really important, and the coaching staff and the parents. And the support structure around youth athletics all has to be, I think, invested in those things. And look, we understand that not every parent is a technologist. I mean, I've experienced that myself with my own kids. We're using a ton more technology than we did months ago, right? And so, we're all having to become IT departments in our own homes in some ways, right? So I think we, as technologists too, we have a responsibility to make those tools easy to use, easy for parents and kids to get set up. One of the things that we've really invested in is ways where a family can create kind of a family group on our product. And so the parent can stay engaged with the kids as they use the product. If every kid doesn't have their own iPhone, can they share an iPad as a family and still engage? That's one of the things that we've, invested in and worked really closely with our community to deliver. So I think, technology platforms like ours have a responsibility to make it democratic, make it accessible, but also make it community driven in terms of the stakeholders, and make sure that coaches, parents, and players in the youth sports world can all feel like this is a really positive engagement, and at the kids' own pace.
Right,
We have
right.
some kids that want to go super deep on training content at home and are going to work out 5 times a day using the HomeCourt app. And Mason has an example of kids who are doing 70 and 80 workouts a week. And then just as well, we have kids that are getting out there 2 or 3 times a week, and that's really positive for them. And that's okay. That part of the benefit of technology is some of those players and athletes can kind of self-pace and engage in a way that makes sense for them. So we kind of encourage those aspects as well, and how we're trying to think about it, Marty.
Thank you. Yeah. I would love to ask Mason how these specific competitions have been looking, in your program. What does it look like? And do you foresee this being a part of your culture in the future? Like, one thing that we do know in sports, and when it comes to practicing, we want them to be engaged. We want the athletes to be out there moving. And sometimes you see in practices, athletes standing on the side when it's not their turn. Do you foresee this be something that they can continue to, practice and compete even on their own if they're working on the app over here, and then these people are practicing together over here? What are some of those competitions actually looking like right now? And how do you foresee it being a part of your culture in the future?
Yeah, so for now, we've just stuck with the ball handling and agility drills because not everybody has a basket at home. So, but you can see, like, I'm the admin on the app, so I can see who's working out and I can watch their workouts, and
Wow.
it looks like real live drills, like they're right in front of me. So it's good to see. But as for like the future, we're definitely going to continue to incorporate this because as we start to roll out what things look like when we get back, it's not going to be the same right away. So it hasn't been. So we're going to definitely find ways to provide the kids with more competition. And that's something we're going to work with Paul with on developing the team leaderboard. They've got that feature now, so all the kids can see what their top score is and who they need to beat, and then continue to add more drills just weekly.
Nice.
I'll add in, I coach high school basketball in Indiana, and I have a 5-year-old who has been using HomeCourt through the pack. So I have and then obviously run our program. So I have a few different perspectives on kind of how I think this will fit into what we do in the future. One thing I just from listening to everybody talk, I think the neat thing about introducing the technology even after we're back in the gym a few days a week, and what I've learned from watching my own kids and talking to other parents is, just like kids learn at school, they have different learning styles, and certain things appeal to different kids better when it comes to learning how to read or do math. I think it's no different now in sports. And I'll use my son as an example. He's only 5. He's a coach's son. He's grown up in a gym, but he's gone on to the app solely to try to win. He doesn't really, he likes it. And once I get him on it, he's really excited and he wants to do it, but he wants to win. We have a program called Smaller Baller. So it's all the kind of 4 to 6-year-olds. And every time I put him on it, all he says is, what's the first place score? So he'll do it, like Mason said, 20 times until he wins. But then he wants to go outside and play one-on-one. And that's kind of his preference in terms of what he would like to do. I've introduced the HomeCourt app with my high school team simply as a way during the quarantine because we couldn't get together as a group. But now what I plan on doing moving forward is giving them assignments every week, even when we're in the gym. I think any coach out there, what they would love to have is more time with their players. And I think that, anyone who coaches high school or is in a business like Mason and I are, we're limited to 2 days a week or 3 days a week or X amount of hours in the gym. And the app can become essentially something the kids can do at home as homework, and to get more work in addition to what we do in the gym. And I think that's the part where organizations like, I know us, all of the programs at the PAC, well, we would like to continue to incorporate this technology for those kids that want more. You know, some people may show up twice a week and want to jump into drills and that's all they want to do. But I think that, especially in Indiana, you know, we're in basketball country, everybody wants more. And that's been a really nice thing for us. And the last thing I'll throw in conversations with Paul early on, Mason and I really talked about what we were missing was this competitive edge. And I think that we want to take that into other programs. We've talked about incorporating it into our leagues and being able to have, you know, if we have 400 teams in a league, have some challenges through the HomeCourt app where all of these teams, not just our own, are involved, and they could even do it in our gym, more prizes, more engagement. And I think that those are all things that we're thinking about doing, you know, even once the gym is fully open and, you know, we're back at it.
I love that. Yes, and it's healthy competition. It's fun competition, you know, and it's important to continue to make sure kids are active at home and they're having fun while they're doing this as well. So I really appreciate that. Now, Stephen, I want you to share with us, you know, I mean, we really want to make sure that we're providing engagement with the sports community through technology and getting organizations to rally, you know, and connect more digitally. So what's next for UpMetrics and, you know, making sure organizations are connecting and rallying digitally?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think one thing, we gave away our, like a lot of organizations, gave away our platform for free because we wanted folks to actually, if they're pivoting from direct interactions with kids, and now they're giving out meals to kids because they've realized that's what's needed. That to me is very important. So us as an organization want to be able to help, whether you're direct basketball service providers or your more generic kind of youth activity agnostic providers. How can we support you in telling the story that you're trying to tell when it comes to the support you're rendering? So basketball group might be saying, we're trying to make better ballers, better people, better ballers. Great. Well, what does that look like in action, right? What is that? And if all of these orgs are coming together and competing in this medium, to what end? Is it just to improve the feelings of the young people? Well, you might want to ask the young people if they feel better. Right? I think there's always a need to make sure we're not rendering things for people without asking them and checking in. Is this what you need? Is this where you need to be at? And that's done in surveys and some stuff that turns into quantifiable information that can be paired with engagement to say, this is why we're doing this. This is how you as a company or as a sponsor can help. This is what we do. This is what we're paying attention to. So I think that's always important, but always want to remember who the end stakeholder is. Who is the end stakeholder? And for most of the folks on this call, it sounds like it's young people, right? And so what are we doing to make sure that they're getting what they need, competitive and fun, but also what are we doing as stewards of that to make sure it's appropriate, it's set up for sustainability, and I think tech just allows for that to happen. It really does when it's thoughtful and when it's empathetic. And I think that's the real thing. So collaboration always. I think people are exhausted with Zoom calls and Blue Jeans calls and every other virtual medium. So we don't have to worry about getting back. People are going to want to get back. Just a matter of what's that going to look like and how can we use tech to transition there. I think that's the really exciting thing. So the question about UpMetrics, what for us, we're just going to keep pounding the street, keep working, keep finding nonprofits and funders and philanthropists that are putting resources out and saying, this is why we're doing it. This is what we're hoping to learn. And then helping them with data and information, tell that objective and subjective story the way they want to tell it. And when it doesn't look the way they want, we help them pivot it, put that information into action and say, well, let's change then, let's improve. And I think that lemonade mentality, when life gives you lemons, will always be at the core of what we at UpMetrics are doing. What me as a person are doing, it doesn't matter, right? It's just, what's the solution? How do we solve? How do we collaborate? I think that's always going to be at what we're doing over here at UpMetrics.
Absolutely. And we are linking UpMetrics resource in the comment section for those on this call right now. You know, their platform is available for free right now to nonprofits. So please check that out. Really amazing. We're about to end here, but I do want Paul to share what's next for HomeCourt. We also have a really great question from the audience that I just have to ask. It says, if this situation continues regarding social distancing, how do you see this platform being used in the recruiting sense? You know, either from the recruiting coach side or the athlete side, what are some of the benefits available?
It's a great question and great kind of what's next, and I can tie that in too, Marty.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've actually partnered. NBA is one of our partners, and really kind of has been awesome in working with us on figuring out how do we use our platform for talent discovery and recruitment. And so we have an initiative called NBA Global Scout that is worldwide. That is a first digital global scouting platform that we can use to discover players, and it's accessible to players of any age, any background, to be able to engage in that. And so it's actually on our platform today, and that's something that we see as kind of the future. First time we're using data and analytics to actually help discover players that maybe wouldn't have been found before. So we want to find the next, Pascal Siakam and Giannis Antetokounmpo and whoever else is the next big player. So we're working with the NBA to do that. That's part of our platform. And I will say, in terms of what's next, like, we're really, think of HomeCourt as maybe a basketball training app traditionally, but really shifting into more of a platform for organizations. So to what we're doing with the Pacers organization, to what we're doing with clubs and leagues around the world, really being a digital platform for them to engage their communities, and have fun, healthy competitions, keep kids engaged and interacting with each other, keep them connected, keep coaches and parents connected into that environment. And so hopefully, for us, providing that digital connection point. I have to do a quick plug as well. We're also launching a global summer camp concept that we want to be able to provide to the world, given that many summer activities may be limited.
Right.
And we're also making the tools to deliver that camp available to other organizations so that they can run their own digital camp concepts using HomeCourt as a platform. So trying to lead by example with our own digital engagement activities, but then making those tools and all of those interactions, engagements available for youth sports organizations. So we want to lead and then also provide.
That honestly, and on behalf of Positive Coaching Alliance, we appreciate the work that we do with each and every one of you today. And thank you so much for joining us on this call. Thank you everyone that's tuning in. That question on recruiting was actually from Carolyn from our Hawaii chapter. So I wanted to give her a shout out for asking that great question. But this has been awesome. We're at the end of our time here, but I just wanted to thank Stephen, Paul, Brandon, and Mason for your time and your expertise in sharing with us. I think the future, is very bright, and I think we need to continue to connect and to engage through technology. So all those tuning in, we thank you so much for joining us. Come back and join us on Friday at 11 a.m. We will be live on Facebook with Adam Kikorian. He is the current head coach of the USA Women's Water Polo team. So we will see you there. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a nice one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.